There is a bucket standing behind my woodpile. It is red, 5 gallons, the kind you buy for $4 at any hardware store in the country. It is half full of water. There is a fistful of grass clippings floating in it, going brown, going soft. And there is 1 spoonful of a powder in there that cost me $17 for a jar that will last me the entire summer. Every female mosquito on this property is flying toward that bucket right now. She is looking for a place to lay her eggs, and she has decided that bucket is the finest piece of real estate she has ever seen. She will lay 200 eggs in it before morning, and every one of them will be dead inside a day. It will not harm the bees working my apple trees. It will not harm the butterflies. It will not harm my 2 horses, who drink from a trough not 40 feet from where that bucket sits. It will not harm my dog, who drinks from anything she pleases and always has. It will not harm the birds, the frogs, the grandchildren running barefoot in the grass at dusk. It kills one thing. Only one. My name is Nico Roman. I was born in a wagon. My mother was traveling when her time came, and my father pulled the horses off the road, and that was that. My family moved every spring for 3 generations before me. We followed work. We followed weather. We slept in fields, beside ditches, at the edges of other men's land, and we drank from whatever water was near. And I will tell you what a man learns when he sleeps beside standing water for 40 years of his life. He learns exactly what comes out of it. 40 years ago, I stopped moving. I have a small piece of land now. I grow most of what I eat. I keep 2 horses because I could not stand to be without them. And I have not been bitten by a mosquito at my own table in 9 years. There is no bug zapper here. There is no truck that comes down my lane once a month with a hose. There is no company sending me a bill. I am going to show you exactly what I do, in the order I do it, what it costs, and where to put it. And then I'm going to tell you the part that ought to bother you a little, which is that the men who spray yards for a living have known about this for 40 years, and most of them are still spraying your garden with something that kills the honeybee in the same breath it kills the mosquito. Stay with me. By the end of this, you will be able to clear the mosquitoes out of your own property this weekend for less than the cost of a single professional visit. Let me start with a thing most people have wrong, because if you do not understand this, nothing else I tell you will work. Mosquitoes do not come from the air. They do not come out of the woods. They do not blow in from your neighbor's pond on the evening wind. Every mosquito biting you in your own garden was born in your own garden, in water, in standing water, and not very much of it. A bottle cap of rain caught in the fold of an old tarpaulin is enough. A gutter with a handful of leaves in it, holding half a cup of water for 4 days, is enough. The little saucer under a flower pot is enough. A female mosquito lays somewhere between 100 and 300 eggs at a time, and she can do it in less water than you can hold in your cupped hands. That is the whole game. That is the entire thing. If you let water stand on your land for more than 4 days, you are not a homeowner. You are running a nursery. If you tip it out, or, and here is the clever part, if you poison it so that nothing that hatches can live, then you have killed the mosquito before it ever had wings to find you. This is not new knowledge. This is not something I invented. This is simply what people do who have no other choice. My grandmother walked the camp every morning, every single morning, first thing, before the fire was properly going. She carried an empty tin and she went round tipping out anything that held water from the night before. The lid of a pot, the dip in a canvas, the rut a wagon wheel had cut in soft ground. She did not know the word larva. She had never heard of bacteria. She only knew that where the water sat, the biting came, and where the water did not sit, it did not. And in the places she could not tip out, the barrel we carried, the low ground where the horses were tethered, she had another trick, and I will show you that one in a few minutes. Here is what I want you to do this weekend. You will need 3 things: a 5-gallon bucket, dark-colored, Red, orange, brown, black. Not white. I will tell you why in a moment, and it matters more than you think. A few handfuls of grass clippings or dead leaves. Free, they are on your lawn already. And 1 jar of something sold as mosquito bits. You will find it in the garden section of any hardware store, sometimes near the pond supplies, sometimes near the fertilizer. $17, give or take. That is the whole shopping list. You start by putting your bucket somewhere out of the way, behind a shed, under a hedge, behind the woodpile, round the back of the garage. Not beside the table where you eat your dinner. You want the mosquitoes drawn away from you, not toward you. You fill it about halfway with water. Rainwater is best. Tap water will do perfectly well. Then you throw in a handful of grass clippings, a few dead leaves, a twig if you like. Nothing careful about it. You are only trying to make the water look a little dirty, a little swampy, like something that has been sitting a while. Now, why dark-colored? Because a female mosquito hunting for a place to lay her eggs is looking for the dark, shaded, still water where her kind have bred for millions of years. A white bucket sitting in full sun does not look like home to her. A dark bucket in shade looks exactly like home. The color is not decoration, it is the advertisement. And why the grass clippings? Because as they break down, they give off the same smell that rotting leaves give off at the edge of a natural pond. That smell tells her, something died here, something is rotting here, the water is rich here, your children will have plenty to eat here. You are not making a swamp. You are making a counterfeit swamp, a forgery. The most attractive piece of ground on your whole property, as far as she is concerned, and every female for a good distance will choose it over the gutter, over the saucer, over the tarpaulin. Now here is what turns the counterfeit swamp into a grave. You take 1 heaped spoonful of the mosquito bits, and you scatter it across the surface of the water. That is all. You do not stir it, you do not measure it. 1 spoonful, floating. What you have just put in that bucket is a thing called BTI. The long name is Bacillus thuringiensis israelensis, which I will not be saying again. It is a bacterium, a living thing. It is not a chemical, not a poison in the way people usually mean the word. It lives naturally in soil all over the world. It was found growing in a desert pond in 1977 in Israel, and the men who found it were not looking for it. And what makes it remarkable is that it kills one kind of creature and no other. The mosquito larva, that is the little wriggling thing that hatches from the egg and lives in the water for about a week before it grows wings, eats particles floating on the surface. That is how it feeds. It eats the BTI without knowing. Inside its gut, the BTI activates. It tears holes in the lining of the stomach. Within a day, the larva is dead. Here is the part that matters. The reason it only kills mosquitoes is that the gut of a mosquito larva is strongly alkaline in a very particular way, and the toxin only unlocks in that exact chemistry. A honeybee's stomach is acidic. So is a butterfly's. So is a frog's, a fish's, a bird's, a horse's. So is yours. The key does not fit the lock. Nothing happens at all. It kills mosquito larvae, black fly larvae, and fungus gnat larvae. That is the list. Not bees,
Not butterflies, not dragonflies, which eat mosquitoes and are your friends, not fish, not frogs, not songbirds, not my horses drinking from the trough, not my dog with her face in the bucket, which she has done more than once. I am not exaggerating for effect. Germany has been running its public mosquito control on BTI since 1981. Pennsylvania uses it. Maryland uses it. Massachusetts uses it. They drop it out of aeroplanes over marshland where people live. It is, by a long way, the safest thing on the shelf. So why is the man who sprays your garden not using it? Some do, most do not, and the answer is not complicated. BTI is cheap. It is sold over the counter to anyone, and once you know about it, you do not need him.
A $17 jar will run a family the whole season. A monthly spraying contract runs $60 to $90 a visit, and it runs all summer, and it runs again next summer. But I want to be fair here, because I do not care for men who shout about conspiracies. The problem is not only money. The problem is what is in the tank. Most yard spraying is done with a class of chemical called pyrethroids. They work. I will not pretend otherwise. They kill mosquitoes very well. But they are what is called broad spectrum, which is a polite way of saying they kill insects. Not mosquitoes, insects. Every insect the droplets land on, and every insect that lands on the sprayed leaf afterwards. A honeybee that touches a treated flower dies. That is not a rumor, and it is not my opinion. It is written on the label of the product itself, and the label will tell you plainly not to apply it to blooming plants where bees are foraging. The trouble is that a mosquito lives in your hedge, and a honeybee lives in your flowers. And a man with a hose and 45 minutes and another job to get to does not always draw a careful line between them. One spoonful of BTI on a half-full bucket kills every egg laid in that bucket for 2 to 4 weeks. After that, it breaks down and you put in another spoonful. That is the whole maintenance of it. Once a fortnight, 1 spoon. Now, 1 bucket behind 1 woodpile will not clear half an acre. Let us do this properly. You want at least 3, 1 on each side of the house. All of them placed away from where you sit, where you eat, where the children play. Always away. You are not decorating a garden. You are drawing the enemy away from the camp, and you want him drawn well away. I keep 1 behind the woodpile on the north side, 1 behind the horse shed on the east, 1 behind my wife's herbs on the west, tucked in behind the rosemary where she cannot see it because she has strong opinions about how the place ought to look, and I learned a long time ago not to argue with her about it. If you have a spot where you cannot hide a bucket, take the lid that came with it, screw 4 short wooden dowels into it for legs, and stand the lid over the bucket like a little hat. The rain cannot get in and water down your BTI, but the mosquito can still fly in underneath to lay. $3 in dowels and 5 minutes with a screwdriver. You do not need power tools. I do not own any. For the places you cannot put a bucket at all, the ditch along the road, the low corner of the paddock that holds water for a week after heavy rain, the old water tank behind the barn, they sell the same bacterium in a different shape. They look like small brown biscuits, and the box calls them mosquito dunks. You throw 1 in. Each one covers about 100 square feet of standing water and lasts around 30 days. I keep a box in the porch and I throw 1 in the rain barrel on the first day of every month from May to September, and I do not think about it again. And here is the one nobody checks. Your gutters. If your gutters have any leaves in them, any pine needles, the ordinary muck any house collects within a year of being cleaned, then they are holding water. Not a lot, enough. Scatter a spoonful of mosquito bits straight into the gutter every few weeks through the season, and you have just shut down what is very likely the single largest breeding ground on your entire property. Most people have no idea their gutters are doing this. The mosquitoes know exactly what the gutters are doing. Now, before I go further, let me say a word about the part you cannot buy in any shop. Once a week, in the cool of the morning, take a tin can or a small bucket and walk your whole property, every saucer under every pot, the wheelbarrow leaning against the wall, the dog bowl you stopped using, the folds in the sheet over the firewood, the children's paddling pool, the bird bath, the blocked drain pipe, the old tires if you have them, and if you have them, get rid of them, because a tire is the finest mosquito factory ever built by the hand of man. Tip it all out. Turn it all over. My grandmother called it walking the camp. The agricultural men call it source reduction. It is the same thing, and it is half the battle, and it costs nothing. You can put out 50 buckets of BTI, and it will not do you as much good as tipping out the 6 little pools of water hiding around your garden right now. 5 minutes a week. The mosquito begins in the water. End her there. Now. You have walked the ground, you have set the buckets, you have treated the gutters. That handles the eggs and the young. But you still have a problem, and the problem is that there are grown mosquitoes on your property this minute, hatched last week, and they are hungry. A female needs blood before she can lay. She is not going to read your mind and go to the bucket. She is going to come and find you on the porch. So we deal with the adults, and we do it with something that also leaves the bees alone. What I use is essential oils, real ones, cedarwood, rosemary, clove, garlic, lemongrass, peppermint. Not perfume. Concentrated plant extracts, the things people have used to keep insects off themselves for thousands of years all over the world because they had nothing else and they worked out what worked. You can buy them ready mixed at the hardware store in a bottle that screws onto your garden hose. I will tell you flat, the hose attachment is poor. It throws the mixture out too fine and it empties too fast. Get a pump sprayer, the kind you fill, pump by hand, and carry on your shoulder. $40 and it will outlive you. Fill the tank 3/4 with water. Shake the bottle of oil hard because the oil sits at the bottom, and if you do not shake it, you are spraying water. Pour in what the label tells you, which for most products is 4 to 8 ounces in a 4-gallon tank. Shake the whole sprayer. The water goes cloudy like thin milk. Then you walk the property and you spray. Here is the mistake almost everyone makes. Do not spray the open air. The oil evaporates and you have wasted it. What you spray is the underside of the leaves, the undersides of your shrubs, your hedges, the tall plants, the eaves of the porch, the inside of any lattice, the back of the woodpile, the dark, cool places. Because in the daytime, the mosquito does not fly about. She rests. She sits in the shade on the cool underside of a leaf, and she waits for the evening. Spray where she is sleeping, and you take the whole adult population in one afternoon. Spray under the garden furniture. Spray the timber under the decking. Spray the lattice. Do not spray anything in flower. I want that understood, because it is the one place people go wrong with good intentions. These oils will not kill a bee, but they will tell her not to land. If you spray the blossom, you have told every pollinator on your land to go somewhere else, and that is the exact opposite of what we are doing here. My apples do not set without her, neither do yours. I do my whole place, the porch, the shrubs by the kitchen door, the woodpile, the fence line by the horses, in about 45 minutes. It holds for 2 to 3 weeks depending on the rain. After a real downpour, I do it again. That is the price of it. Less than an hour a month and a few dollars in oil. Now, I want to tell you one more thing, and it is the one I like best, because it belongs to my grandmother and not to any shop. In the evening, when the family sat outside and the light was going, she took an old Tim. She punched a few nail holes in the side of it for air. She put one piece of charcoal in the bottom and lit it, and on top of the charcoal she laid a small handful of dried herbs from wherever we were camped. Rosemary, sage, dried lavender, mugwort if it had been a bad year for biting. And she let it smoke. That smoke is what people used before there was anything else to use. It does not smell like chemicals. It smells like a kitchen at Christmas. And it holds a circle of maybe 10 feet clear of mosquitoes for as long as it is smoking. You can do that on your patio tonight. A small ceramic dish, a charcoal disc from the hardware store, a handful of dried rosemary out of your own kitchen cupboard. The bees are already home in the hive by then. It bothers nothing, and the mosquito will not come near it. Let me leave you with the larger thing because I think it matters, and I do not want you to think this is only about an itchy arm. The mosquito kills more human beings every year than any other animal alive. Not the snake, not the shark, not the wolf, not the bear. The mosquito. West Nile is in nearly every state in this country now. Eastern equine encephalitis is rare and it kills roughly a third of the people who come down with it. In other parts of the world, the mosquito carries malaria, which still takes something like 500,000 lives a year, and most of them are children. This is serious work. It is not a nuisance. It is the oldest enemy we have. And the way most people have been told to fight it is to sign a contract and let a man come once a month and spray the whole garden with something that kills every insect it touches. That is not the only way. It is not even the best way. It is only the way that fits into a business. The bee is in trouble in this country. 20 years of it, whole hives going empty. There are many reasons, and no honest man will tell you he knows them all. But one of them, is that the same chemicals used to kill mosquitoes in suburban gardens are landing on the flowers that feed the bees that pollinate the food growing in those same gardens. You cannot kill the pest without killing the helper, not if you use the wrong tool. BTI does not kill bees. The oils do not kill bees. Tipping out a bucket of water does not kill anything at all except mosquitoes. The whole of it, the buckets, the dunks, the oils, the smoke, the walking of the ground, costs less than 1 month of a professional contract, takes 1 weekend to set up, and you can run it yourself for the rest of your life with no contract, no chemical, and nothing harmed that did not deserve it. And I want to be honest about why my family knew this. It was not cleverness. It was that we had nothing. When you cannot ring a company, and you cannot pay a bill, and you cannot even stay in one place long enough to be sent one, you work out what actually functions with what is at hand. And what we worked out over a long time and a great many wet fields is that the mosquito is not an air problem. It is a water problem. And a water problem is a thing a man can solve with $17 and an hour of attention. So here is your weekend. Walk your ground with a Tim. Tip out every saucer, every bucket, every wheelbarrow, every fold of every tarpaulin holding water. That is step 1, and it costs nothing. Set out 3 buckets in hidden corners, dark-colored, half full. A handful of grass clippings in each. 1 spoonful of mosquito bits on top. Throw a dunk in the rain barrel, the gutter, the low ground, anything holding water more than a day or 2.
And if you have the time, get a pump sprayer and a bottle of oil and go over the underside of every shrub, the back of every woodpile, the lattice of every porch. $60 the first time, $30 a season after that. And by next Saturday evening, you'll be sitting outside in the cool with nothing coming for you. The bees still working the flowers, the butterflies still on the lavender, and your dog drinking out of whatever puddle she likes. Tell me in the comments where you live and what the biting is like where you are. I read them. And tell me if you set out a bucket. I want to know how it goes. The people I come from have known this a long while. I am telling it to the people who were never told. Next time, I'm going to show you what my grandmother did to keep flies out of a kitchen in August, which needs a glass jar, a piece of paper, and one thing out of your pantry that you would never guess in 100 years. It worked before sticky paper was ever invented, and it still works better than anything you can buy. Until then, keep your water tipped out, keep your eyes open, and remember that the people who had nothing worked out a great many things we are only now beginning to remember.